Great. Welcome everyone to our September Technology Advisory Committee meeting. We have a rather short agenda, but we are going to adjourn to an executive session afterwards to review all the proposals for and put together next steps for the website update. But there are a few things that I wanted to cover outside of that. So first of all, did everyone get a chance? I know Brian, and welcome to your first technology committee meeting.
Thank you.
The best.
The best, the best.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. That's why I asked if I could do this.
Absolutely. We love to have you here. Did everybody get a chance to review the meeting notes from last time? Any change, although you weren't here, so did you get a chance? Any changes or updates, guys? It looked good to me as usual. So then I would say our meeting minutes are approved as written. Great. So next topic, update on the phone system implementation. Who's covering that one? We've had a few glitches.
We did have a few glitches. I'm trying to remember what church.
But I thought they got better.
Well, I know the major one wasn't just them. It was
Correct.
Metaswitch. Metaswitch is owned by Microsoft. There was this interconnect, and I got this through like 3 other providers, that their interconnect into the central office for the phone system, for the actual phone network, that power failed, and then the generator failed, and then the UPSs failed. And then the 5 data centers that Microsoft has for Metaswitch started into this fun rotation where all 5 of them thought they should take control because there weren't any phone lines. And then basically every single phone that was on the system tried to re-register. So they had thousands and thousands and thousands of requests concurrent.
Okay.
So that's as much as I know that I got out of Armstrong, because Armstrong Cable apparently for their voice over IP phones are on the same platform.
Okay.
That's what they
That's what
said.
they,
And that's what basically the other couple other vendors that on Metaswitch said.
okay.
The fax line, we're having some issues with the fax line. And Trisha is gonna wait and check the bills next month to see if the bills come in lower than, because the bills came in high.
Oh,
So she's waiting till next month to see if everything's leveled out.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about it again.
okay,
the fall.
okay.
I think those are the lines that are still on like the analog fax system from like, I think Consolidated.
Yeah, it's what came from Consolidated.
Yeah.
All right, well, let us know, in the meantime, if there's something that comes up, so you're not waiting for, if there's something we can do to help, so we're not waiting for another month on something. So,
Yeah.
But right now, it doesn't sound like there's any action. This is more awareness for us that there are
Right.
a few bumps in the road at this point in time.
And we are aware that it's not completely the new phone system.
Okay.
That there was other
Could-
things that, you know.
Yeah, I just was aware. I heard that the system went down.
Yeah.
Because it was on overload.
Well, it went down, but it wasn't
It
just,
went down.
it wasn't just McCandless. It was,
Well, I heard it went down, and then also about the fax machines.
was it the number porting with Consolidated? Because they're usually really, really difficult with that.
I think it's tough to say until we see the next, because we don't know if that was the month that we hadn't switched over yet.
Okay,
So that's what I think we wanted to see is what it looks like next
is
month.
fax not working or is it just the billing?
It did not work at first.
Is it working now?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm always waiting to get in.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I thought there might have been a chance that the original concept of doing like fax to email or something like
Yeah.
that got pulled because that might be what we
Yes.
switched back to like an analog system for that, I think.
There was some that was faxed to email instead of having the hard line, but the police need to have the hard line.
oh, for their, yeah.
Yeah, they have
They-
requirements from like
The state requirements.
So we
and
just want
said,
to make
yeah.
sure that the costs don't come into.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, we'll leave it on the agenda for next month then. And see where that is. Okay, so that was the update on the phone system implementation. Okay, traffic camera update, and I apologize. I will update and put some of the stuff that you and I exchanged with Ryan up into SharePoint, unless you had a chance to do that. And I've just been, I don't know how I would do everything I was doing if I was still working. Anyhow, so Joe and I spent some time with Chief Hawk. We happened to run into him at the last town council meeting, which, by the way, if you haven't seen this, Tracer was approved. So I just want to make sure you guys were all aware of that as well. And then, so we spent some time talking about what are the options are, and he had done some research as well as what the cameras are around. And currently it's kind of an interesting situation, and feel free to jump in at this point. Most of the municipalities around us have a system, PCS, right?
PCS, yeah.
PCS system. And that's what we can, they can all see each other's cameras. It's really nice. And that's where we're the black hole. We do not have anything at this point in time. Well, PCS is getting bought by
Flock.
Thank you. Everybody's
By
right.
who?
Flock.
FLOC.
OCK. Yes, so Joe and I, Ryan had a meeting with Flock already set up for the next day. We tagged in on that meeting. It's great technology. They're buying PCS. It's from an implementation perspective, it's very simple technology. One price per camera per year, everything included. They're solar, so you don't necessarily have to have electric, so they don't have to go on a pole. You can put them other places. They all talk. You can integrate other cameras into it as part of this whole system. So sounds great. Well, but you see, the folks who own PCS are now a little upset about potentially having to rebuy things. So that's where the cease and desist, the kind of the letter that came from the Paula that said, whoa, let's stop.
Meaning Ross and Pine
Ross.
and
Franklin Park,
Franklin Park just put them
Hampton,
up.
yeah, they just put them up. So there's now, so the Paula's in the middle of it trying to, and we think what's going to happen is a negotiation so that they will be stepped into this, because Flock says that it's $2,500 per camera per year, period, end of story. Whether you buy one or you buy 1,000, it's $2,500 per camera per year, but everything's all included. So we've decided, our recommendation was, and again, I'll put all the emails back and forth up so you guys can see them all. But this is pretty much the net of the conversations, is let's just kind of take a pause for a minute and see what happens, because what we don't want to be is an island. We're already a whole, we're a whole. We don't want to just, what we really want is the ability and the value in it is being able to leverage and watch, as things are coming into our border or going out of our border, that gives Chief Hawk and his detectives and patrol folks, an opportunity to leverage the technology.
So is the issue that the surrounding communities would have to replace their
Yeah.
cameras? Okay.
Or transition I don't know that they have to replace them, but it doesn't really matter. 'cause
I
they're
don't
trying to-
know the technology well enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but basically Flock tried to come in and say, oh, all those cameras you have, now you're gonna pay us $2,500 a year for them.
Even though they
Each.
have bought.
So the ones they put up 3 months ago at Franklin Park, they wanted to.
So essentially, Flock is leasing the cameras.
They are selling you the data that comes out of the camera.
That's what they're doing.
Okay.
That's what they're saying, and I can totally see why the other communities are upset.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The reality for McCandless having none is the model is not terrible, because instead of biting off $400,000 or $500,000 to do all the hardware, you can probably do that in $125,000 a year, and the 5-year cost of the things comes out to be, it's slightly more for Flock, but it's also significantly better software. I mean, there's
Do
some,
they,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do they cover maintenance
Yep,
Everything.
of the cameras?
yep. There's a one-time installation fee of $350 per camera. Other than that, everything is covered with a 2,500. Now, if you want to loop in some other cameras that you've got to be into this dashboard, there's
Yeah.
a few other minor fees that come up. But yeah, they
Like-
cover everything.
Like an example is if there's a IP based camera that you want to add into the system, I think they give you
I think they gave up
4,
4, so.
but
yeah.
they didn't define if that was 4 per camera or 4 overall. But the reality is, in theory, North Allegheny has cameras on their entrances and exits of the schools, so potentially the some of those cameras could come into the same system. And
So we wouldn't have to put cameras on those intersections.
Right.
and
At
if
least that.
if there's one at Dick's in the lobby,
We would have to worry about
they could bring it into the same system.
Right. You know, and we
So
talked
they-
about, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, so that means that for McCandless Township, that's a consistent subscription fee, more or less all inclusive, and you can expand it as you will, but it, you know, as from a budget standpoint, very predictable. You've got a
Yep.
working system, and insurance or whatever is all included versus having to worry about having to get cameras every 5 to 7 years, et cetera, and having differing fees as they go out.
Yeah,
Interesting.
And
So
I would
as far as the surrounding townships are upset, but I mean, is the plan, what's their plan? Are
We
they to
don't know
convert
yet.
Or no?
We don't
When
know
is there
yet.
a decision on that?
It sounds like, I mean, right now it sounds like either take the flock deal or walk away from part of their investment because they're gonna have to change the software on the cameras that they have. Or my guess is, since it's the whole, it's basically almost all of the rest of the county are on this system. Because the DA's office started it up and got grants and funded it, and so basically everybody else is on this one. So they would have to buy new software everywhere, or again, it's just a gut feeling that there's going to be some kind of negotiation with Flock that they can continue to use the cameras at some rate for, maybe Franklin Park can continue to use the old system for 5 years since they just put it in. But if somebody put it in 7 years ago, okay, you're gonna replace these cameras now. I just think that's probably where it's gonna go. It's gonna be some kind of tiered phase in based on the age of the cameras that are in place.
And
I imagine they probably have already done something similar. They're not gonna be the first people ever to have this problem.
I
I
are
can't.
they gonna charge us for updates?
nothing.
Not,
No,
I'm saying, like
it's-
right now, 2 years from now, if the software changes and they update it, are they gonna change the fee? Are they gonna charge us for
No.
that
I mean,
changeover?
at some point, I would assume they should change the fee. Just
Yeah,
normal.
they'll
Yeah, we
just
don't have a
notify
contract.
you. Yeah, once they lock that in, it's probably, it's municipal, so we all talk and they know. So they'll change it across the fee once it becomes something that they have to. They've decided at the board level that we're gonna increase our fee by 10%.
Right.
They'll
Right,
notify
that's
everybody and everybody gets that cost.
That's something you might want to bring up at the municipality meeting.
Mhm.
And see what's going on.
Yeah,
there.
see what you're hearing, what they're hearing.
Yeah, next week I'll be at the COG meeting and
Great.
probably find out some more about that. I had a question too. We're talking about cameras. Well, the license plate readers are separate than this, or
It's
is
part of it.
part of it?
Part of
Okay.
it.
Because I've done
Right.
previously when the DA was throwing out grants, I got, one for an LPV, an Avalon kind of thing. So I know that's been, or LPR, they've been changing.
Yeah.
It's both. So in Franklin, like you go through Franklin Park, they have like 2 on the end of the building or 2 in the parking lot outside the building, and then the intersection with Rochester, and
Yep.
they sunk a pole and they put 4 cameras on that pole.
Mhm.
And they all have LPRs. The software is cool. Like if there's a warrant and it picks up that car coming into McCandless,
Mhm.
the officers will get a real-time alert that that car is entered. And then that was part of the discussion with Chief Hawk was how do you divide the cameras up into sections where they know that comes in, that, you know, if you do the perimeter first, you at least have it coming in and coming out.
Right.
Hmm,
But then it's kind of, how do you chop up the rest of the map? So
yeah,
that it's a reasonable enough area for them to actually go looking for the vehicle.
I even would think the busiest intersections probably make the most sense because the people they're looking for probably don't know municipal lines like we do.
Right. Well, that's the interesting thing of not needing to put it on the intersection.
Yeah,
So like on McKnight Road, if you go north of Arcadia, you go between the old movie Blazer and Arcadia, you could put a pole on each side of the road. And you've essentially captured both the Arcadia intersection and the Blazer,
Right,
because once you're in there, you're trapped.
so.
And you could do the same thing down closer to Perrymont.
But
And
don't they run the wire? Don't they run the wire?
they don't have to.
It doesn't, it's solar,
Oh,
It's solar and it's cellular.
yeah.
good.
So that's all, and that's all included in that $2,500.
Yeah.
And that includes the data plan,
Yep.
and you can't beat that.
Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah,
$100 a camera a month anyways, so
Yeah. Well, the other thing we talked about is at $2,500 per camera per year. Well, Lowe's has got a real problem. Dick's has a real problem.
Sure.
Could we not get them?
Put
You know,
joint
Chief
in.
Hawk was willing, you know, to reach out to some of the
Yeah.
major retailers that are getting hit. And say, you know, hey, can you pony up for a camera or two? So
Yeah,
that was,
that's right.
that,
It's a
you know,
good idea.
that's another thought of a way to, you know, approach this. So,
It's North Allegheny, if they don't have one on the entrance and exit, you know,
yeah,
they can put one in, or, you know, they should pay
you know, it's,
potentially they should pay the license fee to get it into the system.
yeah,
Which again, the fee on the IP based cameras was significantly less.
I think we should also talk to LaRoche.
yeah,
Sure, LaRoche, I mean, we.
LaRoche.
Passive.
all
And
of them.
right now, LaRoche.
Yeah.
Just consolidated their debt service, so they're gonna have some money available.
Yeah, so if we can, if this all works, that was kind of the way that we could approach, you know, getting
I think
others
that's a
to
good idea,
fund some of the
because-
things and have one easy system to use, frankly, for all of us. So we just gotta wait and see, make sure this whole
So
PCS
passive
versus
and
block.
LaRoche would be really good,
Yeah,
Even,
because passive and
Yep.
could also take part of Cumberland.
right.
Can we ask that if there are any grants available as well?
There are, I did some research on them, you know, the police help one that's, you know, not, but as we've seen with grants, it might be quicker to go to these individual
it's
organizations.
September
to get-
7th and they still don't have the body camera.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, that was
Yeah.
done earlier, so, you know. I'd
Okay.
say it's something we could use and look into for phases 2 and 3. You know, Joe and I were thinking, depending on how this goes, 50 to 60 would probably give us the perimeter, you know, the biggest.
The perimeter and enough of, I think that was the interesting thing about this, of not having to put it at an intersection. That potentially it could reduce the number of cameras
That
we
you need.
need to really catch what we need to catch.
I think
Is-
that's a really good idea, especially
You know, we could stick,
tapping it in North Allegheny too. I mean,
we could stick a couple
Yeah.
over by Duncan Manor
Yeah.
and get the stuff coming in from Hampton.
Mhm.
Which would be very expensive to do right now, because there's no infrastructure there
Right.
to do it.
who owns the McIntyre shopping center?
First City,
Who?
First City.
First City owns it.
Yeah, but I bet, again, approaching that, you know, as to what's going on there, I mean, there's just. It's $2,500 per camera, you know, if you can get a few, we could cover an awful lot of things. That, you know, it's, so it's still, it's not, you know, $2.50, but I think is the value that the town would receive.
I mean, essentially, it's a cell phone, you know, you break that down monthly, it's what, $200 and
Yeah.
change?
Well, and
So,
I mean, yeah, and the electric, because if
Yeah.
the town puts in the kind of system they have now, you have to pay for an internet connection at every intersection. And the electric bill at every intersection, so. I
and
mean,
maintenance, You
and
know, insurance.
maintenance and software updates. I mean, the model looks great for McCandless because we have no camera.
Because we have nothing, so we're stuck, and this would be
Yeah.
easy, they'd install it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So you all met with Ryan with Flock?
We did,
Okay, so Flock's aware that we're interested.
yes,
And they also know that the other municipalities are very upset.
yes,
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, I think we sit a little.
we said a little bit.
Are the cameras infrared, by the way?
Yes.
Work? Okay. Also, can we find out the last 3 times that PCS has raised their prices? So we can set expectations on what they've done in the past?
PCS or Flock,
I'm sorry, Flock. You're right.
yeah, I think everything I looked at was always, because I did a bunch of Google searching, it's been $2,500 per camera for the last several years.
They've
from what I-
only, they only started 5 years ago, according to this.
Yeah, so they haven't budged,
So we're good until
Okay.
somebody buys them.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
They make all their own, they make all the hardware and they make it all in the United States too.
Are
This
there cameras?
Seems too good to be true. I mean, from what I was
It
looking
really
at
does.
3 years ago, this is right on what we expected the pricing to be per year almost.
yeah,
Without even, and you still needed to buy the hardware on top of that and do your own maintenance. And you were tied to having them at the fixed intersections.
right. No, this gives us a lot of flexibility. I'm sorry, Lamar, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, are there cameras for the rest of the municipalities? The goal is to find out whether or not their cameras can be included on the system without them having to buy an entire, new set of cameras. And, we need to know if they're compatible. Like if Chief Bach is going to, if it's gonna become we're the black hole and then we end up being the donut hole. It's like,
Well, that's
Uh,
why we need to
we
wait.
still need to,
Yeah,
we still need
no,
to track and trace. So,
You're-
are the cameras of the same quality, I guess is the question that everybody else has.
well, and that's why the question is, what's gonna happen with all these PCS clients? Are they gonna migrate over to Flock, which means it would all be one very nice integrated system, or are they gonna go off in another direction, in which case then we need,
Because Block basically said the PCS network goes down the end of October. So I
Yes.
mean, I think that was
it's
the
coming,
kind of,
it's like next month.
That's
great.
fast.
it's aggressive, but they're coming in with the strong
Yeah,
leverage on the bargaining, but
Did they say what delivery time is on their hardware?
that we didn't
'Cause,
ask.
boy,
Yeah.
that's the challenge right now.
they did kind of say it was, I thought
It
they
also
said.
doesn't look like these cameras are
8 weeks.
pan tilt zoom. They look like they're fixed everything.
Yes,
They're all fixed,
Oh,
yeah. they're
Are they
fixed.
wide angle digital zoom?
That's what
not
it looks
Like,
like.
Okay.
No, they're fixed. They're based on trail camera technology. Is where he came up with the idea.
they said they'll pick up 2 lanes of traffic, but
Yep.
we know from Ross that there are places where they're picking up 3 with them.
And especially with some spots where our lanes aren't all that wide, if they're fairly tight on the, we don't have huge wide lanes in places. So,
Wonder if the LiDAR too.
That's really interesting.
yeah,
This is
it was a fun discussion.
But, I mean, just in the searching software, they asked for an example. Chief Hawk said, I want a silver Volvo. And within 20 seconds, it pulled up 3 silver Volvos. And it had 2 of them that had gone through the intersection like 35 times each, and 1 of them that had gone through twice.
So it
So if
kind of,
they had a problem at somewhere and they knew it was a silver Volvo, they could reasonably say, well, these 2 are probably people that live here, go through this intersection a lot. This one's only been through twice. Where's this one? What's the deal with it?
Yeah,
it kind of almost is similar to their facial recognition software. So it can pick up a color and make it a
oh,
car,
yeah,
not just the license plate.
oh, yeah,
And
So-
the other thing they talked about, now you reminded me, was it. Most of the other systems on the license plate recognition are based on the reflectiveness, so it would
Yeah.
not pick up the temporary paper tags, it would not. This one does pick up basically anything. And it can do the make and model searches from
Right.
side views and everything else.
Love it.
I mean, it is really good technology,
Yes.
Love it.
but of course, if the county goes a different way, it's probably gonna move to something else.
Unless we can get some of our surrounding,
Right.
municipalities like Franklin, if the county goes a different way, but we could convince like Franklin Park and Ross and Pine, then maybe
would-
it'd still be.
I would venture to say they're not going to because there's too much money already invested.
Yeah, and I'd say, like, I mean, they use this outside of Allegheny County too. Like I know
Mhm.
when I was in New Sewickley, they picked up someone in Bellevue on 65 and then they just sat down on 65 and got them.
And waited, yeah.
They used the example of you had, a major domestic or murder or something. If that car drives into Ohio and goes past the flock camera, McCandless would get an alert.
get an
It's
Oh,
alert.
just-
that's.
The
yeah,
same
it's like
thing, like-
Facial recognition.
Yeah.
If they use Buffalo, like if Lowe's all of a sudden started getting hit and somebody thought they saw a New York plate, then it'll tell you, wait a minute, this one was in Albany and Buffalo, and
Mhm.
now they can start to track some of these ones where they just
Yeah.
kind of follow the interstates to do some of the stuff.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
It was really interesting. So we have some, there's a memorandum of understanding, which actually the town could sign and get access to the software that they're doing,
For free
For free.
for 5 years, I think.
it was 5 years. The
Yeah.
MOU is 5 years. So I will upload that. We've got some maps of where the other cameras are, and then emails. I promise I will get it all up there so that you can take a look at it. But they did actually show, got some maps of where all the PCS cameras are, which was really very interesting. Because then you could, as we were sitting down with Chief Hawk, trying to map out where they all had cameras, where we had where we would, it'll make life a lot easier when it comes time to actually putting something together.
And interestingly, Allegheny County Sheriff and the parks use their own system that is
Yeah.
outside of all of this.
Yes, the park has
The
got,
park has its own
we
system, but
checked on that. So this was just a, conversation after the last town council meeting that kind of evolved very quickly.
Very
And
productive though.
it was,
Yeah.
it was very interesting technologies, kind of stuff I
I'm
enjoyed
sorry I
it.
wasn't there. This would have been interesting.
Yeah.
but it literally was like 9 o'clock and he's like, oh, by the way, I have this call tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. You want to get on it? So,
That's really
okay.
cool.
Yep. All right. So any questions on this right now? I'm real excited about it.
It's good information.
I think it's really good. All right, last item, then on other business, I think one of the things that Tricia did want us to talk about before we get into the details of the proposals on the website is, and then RJ was gonna join. Oh, great. RJ so she'll join because she's been working on this from the town's perspective, is the target meeting that we want to get to. We had originally talked about the first meeting in October. I don't think we're going to hit that with the fact we've got several proposals to go through. We got to talk to various vendors as well as what else RJ has on her plate at this point in time. So I'm going to propose, she's proposing, and I would agree with it, we would target the second meeting in October to present to council and hopefully get on the path for approval. Any discussion around that suggestion? Any concerns with that suggestion?
Is this the proposal about the cameras or?
No,
I'm
no,
sorry,
no,
I
it's
missed, I missed a piece.
you
For
know,
us to make our recommendation.
to update the website.
Ah, there we go. Thank
Yeah,
you.
So we're gonna adjourn shortly and then go into an executive session where it's not recorded because we have committed to confidentiality for all these vendors. So I didn't want to review them all in a public forum. That was not appropriate. But so the plan would be tonight to go through the proposals, come up with our short list And then there's, I'm sure gonna be questions. We need to go look at some of the websites and have reviews with the vendors, but then our target would be the second meeting in October for a formal recommendation from us as well as the town staff. That work?
Yep.
Works? All right, good. So you can add that in the meet. So we're targeting, you can put that in.
Well, in other business, since Tracer was approved, what needs done to push Springbrook over the finish line?
I have not had a chance to talk to Trisha. Have you spoken with Trisha at all?
Not anything more than I know she would like Springbrook.
I know.
Well, I mean, because, they approved Tracer.
Mhm.
But it was kind of a package, like Tracer doesn't do everything on
Yeah.
its own,
Right.
so. Like,
I know we got an updated proposal.
Only just got the updated proposals.
When we
Last-
approved
late last
Taser,
week.
I was gonna
Right.
ask that question then. But I figured let's get that approved
Let's-
and then let's take the next
Yeah.
step.
Yeah.
I didn't wanna delay
I
it
think-
anymore.
I think-
With taking the time to look at the.
I just didn't wanna delay it anymore.
New proposal.
well, and
Agreed.
I think it's the same thing with this, if you don't get it on the books, it's gonna keep,
Yeah.
it just
It's gonna
keeps
slide
sliding.
Yeah.
And, you probably, like, obviously, it's not gonna happen January 1st. But if it happened July 1st or August 1st, and you could go into the new budget with
Right.
Springbrook,
That would
there's
be,
time, and again, there's probably, you could probably approve it in November and still be all right.
I
but-
think, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, I think that's what Tricia was proposing when we last spoke. At council. And I think it was, it would look good going into the new budget,
yeah.
so.
And I have not,
That makes sense, just the budget properly.
yeah,
And then
So,
you don't want to be doing it, probably after August 1st. And then you're mixing into she's
Yeah.
putting together the budget over these 2 months for the draft part of it. So
Right,
I'm pretty sure, is that what she relayed to all of you?
If you would like, I can put it on the October agenda.
yeah, and I'll also try and get some time with her to find out where, because I know she had a few concerns about some of the functionality of Springbrook, but considering she has a new proposal, it sounds like she was able to get those resolved, so. But I have honestly, I did not get a chance to speak with her this week. And I know she's happy only having one job, right? So.
nothing's perfect, but it was,
I think it's.
with Tracer, it was
it's
pretty good package.
Yeah,
so.
so I will, I'll reach out, I'll send her a note tonight, and see if I can grab some time on her calendar, just to get an update as to where she is.
And I did check just under other business. I did check that when we get into the HVAC system and they remove the ceiling, they are gonna wire,
Good. Good,
so.
okay. Any other business? Anything else, folks? Brian, anything else from you that you'd like to see from us at this point?
no, nothing at this point. Still trying to figure out all the great things we do here. So
Yes. Okay, good. All right, do I have your motion to adjourn this
Motion
portion?
to adjourn.
And a second. All right,
To
I would
executive
say we are adjourned. The main meeting is adjourned, off to executive session.